hold music. You want to avoid it, and so do your customers. So say goodbye to hold music and hello to faster, smarter support with Salesforce. Make service more personal and agents more productive using built-in trusted AI. Then watch costs and wait times drop and satisfaction soar. Support customers in a whole new way with Service GPT. Learn how at salesforce.com/service GPT.
This episode is brought to you by Klaviyo, the platform that powers smarter digital relationships. With Klaviyo, you can activate all your customer data in real time, connect seamlessly with your customers across all channels, guide your marketing strategy with AI-powered insights, recommendations, and automated assistance, deliver experiences that feel individually designed at scale, and grow your business faster. Power smarter digital relationships with Klaviyo. Learn more at klaviyo.com/Spotify. That's KLAVIYO.com/Spotify.
This is Optimal Finance Daily, episode 2537. Is moving worth it to achieve financial independence? Part 2, by Craig Stevens of retirebeforedad.com. And I'm your host and personal finance enthusiast, Diana Merriam. Today's post is actually a continuation from yesterday. So if you're new here, it'd be best to listen to yesterday's episode first. But if you're all caught up, let's hear part 2 and continue optimizing your life. Is moving worth it to achieve financial independence? Part 2, by Craig Stevens of retirebeforedad.com. Shortage of assets versus cost of living. From one perspective, we don't have enough assets to be financially independent. Alternatively, we have plenty of money to retire early. We just aren't living in the right place. To become financially independent, we need to either move or build our assets. We've chosen to keep building assets. But every time I peek at our net worth, I'm reminded that we could achieve financial independence sooner or even immediately rather than wait until I turn 55. If only we'd move where the cost of living is lower. I highlight Guatemala as an extreme end of a spectrum. Compared to Washington, D.C., San Pedro is dirt cheap. Though Guatemala is extreme, there are undoubtedly affordable cities and towns closer to home. We could move to a city or town where the cost of living is low, schools are good, and we'd have everything we need and still be able to achieve financial independence earlier. So why not move there? Why not move to achieve financial independence? As adventurous and blog-worthy as it sounds, our family is not moving to Guatemala. Maybe someday we'll visit together and take Spanish lessons, or volunteer at the school at Casa Guatemala, or we'll explore the unique natural pools and waterfalls, or the insanely cool river cave. Our area has far better schools and infrastructure. It's safe and convenient to family, airports, recreation, and everything we need and want. Our friends are here. Our kids are making friends here. But the conversation still comes up with Mrs. Retire Before Dad every once in a while. We ask ourselves, why don't we move to be in an even better financial position? The answer is usually, where to? My hometown doesn't appeal to her because it's colder than DC and she only knows my friends and family. I'm not sure it appeals to me all that much either. Her parents no longer live where she grew up, so not much there is drawing her back. We met in the DC area. It's where we dated, lived in our first place together, married, bought a house, and started a family together. The DC area is part of who we are as a family, so leaving is a big deal. And there's that lack of affordable places where we want to move. I suppose we could go exploring to find somewhere else to live, but after 13 years of living and building relationships, it's difficult to justify leaving aside from the cost of living. So we either stay put or start from scratch to find a new place to settle down after already settling down here. The thought of that is unsettling. For us today, moving isn't worth it. You can therefore deduce that our desire to stay where we are outweighs our desire to achieve financial independence earlier. Location in the financial independence equation. Location is the key component to the financial independence equation, because location determines cost of living in terms of housing, transportation costs, food, and available services. Backpacking in parts of Asia and Latin America is cheap for food and accommodations, but we don't want that now. We want a stable home for our kids to grow up in, where they can build the intellectual foundations to go and find their own adventures someday. We live in an ideal place for that, surrounded by like-minded families, like-minded in terms of raising kids, not in terms of pursuing financial independence. The suburban lifestyle has its pitfalls, namely a reliance on cars and a mortgage. Even with its pitfalls, the expensive city suburban lifestyle is the one we've chosen. We realize that the longer we stay, the more challenging a move to somewhere cheaper gets. As the children age, they'll have a say in it as well. I'm guessing they won't want to leave their friends for something new because the other place is cheaper. Conclusion. When I was 27, I was broke, unemployed, and living with my parents. From that restarting point, I had the option to live and find a mate in a less expensive place. Had I been more informed about what it takes to become financially independent, I may not have moved to D.C. Today, I consider moving here one of the best decisions I ever made. But for the singles or young couples out there who aspired to retire early, a critical decision point may be near. If you choose an expensive city, expect to work a little longer. That's not to say early retirement cannot be achieved in an expensive place. You'll have a steeper mountain to climb. Declaring that we're going to maintain our current lifestyle instead of pursuing more immediate financial freedom is somewhat liberating. We've built our nest and our household size is probably complete. We can now take the lifestyle we know and love and estimate what it's going to take to reach our goal. College planning has become clearer. Our housing costs, while high, are affordable and predictable. My current career trajectory is steadily moving upwards. Knowing that we'll likely stay where we are makes planning for our retirement easier. Through working hard to achieve financial independence in an expensive city, we should have more money and options to relocate and/or travel extensively when we retire. You just listened to part 2 of the post titled, "Is Moving Worth It to Achieve Financial Independence?" by Craig Stevens of retirebeforedad.com.
Apple Card is the credit card created by Apple. You earn 3% daily cash back up front when you use it to buy a new iPhone 15, AirPods, or any products at Apple. And you can automatically grow your daily cash at 4.15% annual percentage yield when you open a high-yield savings account. Apply for Apple Card in the Wallet app on iPhone. Apple Card subject to credit approval. Savings is available to Apple Card owners subject to eligibility. Savings accounts by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, member FDIC. Terms apply.
Labor strikes, climate change, your beat-up office printer. What do they all have in common? Come on, it's about the money. Economics is everywhere and everything, fueling our lives, even where we least expect it. If you're a fan of Optimal Finance Daily and are curious to learn something new and exciting about economics every week, I recommend you listen to the Planet Money podcast from NPR. Planet Money is a different kind of world where the complex economy actually makes sense. Listeners can learn, laugh, and be entertained. And in addition, I find it to be really educational. Money can be confusing, and Planet Money is great at providing straightforward explanations for how money is really moving in ways we're usually kept in the dark about. The Planet Money team lives to tell a good story in around 30 minutes. It's econ for the rest of us. Tune in to Planet Money every week for entertaining stories and insights about how money shapes our world, stories that can't be found anywhere else. Listen now to Planet Money from NPR, wherever you get your podcasts. I think Craig makes a great point that when you're young and you have less obligations, it's a good opportunity to explore where you might want to settle down. But once you settle, the cost of uprooting can be higher and less desirable. It's certainly not impossible, and many people do it out of necessity, but I appreciate Craig's honest assessment of why they chose to stay in DC. There are other ways that people take advantage of what's known as geo-arbitrage without totally uprooting their lives. For example, medical tourism, where you opt to have non-emergency medical procedures done in other countries, can be an amazing way to reduce costs. I also know of a friend in the F.I.R.E community who basically lives on cruise ships for much of the year while still maintaining a home base. Many people choose to engage in short or long-term travel while renting out their homes. I actually did this when I walked the Camino in 2017. I subletted my apartment, and my overall costs of traveling for 2 months were significantly less than they would have been for those 2 months at home. I think a great rule of thumb when it comes to these kinds of decisions is to get clear on what you want and then get creative on the money part versus making lifestyle choices solely based on the monetary impact. And that's another episode of Optimal Finance Daily in the books. I'll be back with more for you tomorrow. So have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you on the Sunday show where your optimal life awaits.